Hey y'all, Dustin here, and Art Briles, what just happened? Yesterday, Baylor fired its very much acclaimed head coach Art Briles just 2 years after it signed him to a 10-year contract. I wrote down some stats. This is what Art Briles did at Baylor. 2 Big 12 titles, 3 bowl games, a top 10 finish. Last year they went 10-3, including running all over number 10 North Carolina in the Russell Athletic Bowl. Plus, they had a Heisman Trophy winner. There was all kinds of firsts under Art Briles. He allowed them to get a brand new stadium. I remember they beat Oklahoma at home for the first time. They beat Texas for the first time in a long time. They won a bowl game for the very first time in like 25 years. They were ranked for the first time in like 27 years. He did an incredible, incredible job building up Baylor. So why did they let him go? It only doesn't make sense if you only focus on the field. If you look off the field, it makes perfect sense. The Baylor coaching staff, the Baylor University administration, even the Waco Police Department was going all in to protect these players from any kind of punishment that may happen. In case you're unaware of what exactly happened, there's at least 4 Baylor players who have been accused of sexually assaulting literally over a dozen women between them. None of the cases were at the same time. They were all individual. It's not like they were some kind of planned group activity. But at least 2 of them have been convicted on their charges and have been sentenced to jail. There's been plenty of evidence to suggest that a massive, literally citywide cover-up was going on to help protect them from ever being punished and from the information ever leaking out to the press from anyone outside of their little football bubble to ever understand what was going on. Now, this is a subject that I have talked about before. It's actually the very first YouTube video I ever made. It's titled Baylor's Sam Ukuwachu Sexual Assault, and I actually will put a link to it in the description. Literally, it's the first YouTube thing I ever made. It's the first thing I ever put on the internet. But I talk extensively about that one case and the massive cover-up that seems to have been going on in that case. And unfortunately, that isn't the only case at Baylor where it appears that has happened. At least 3 other ones. Now, there is some evidence to suggest that it was not a direct cover-up of these sexual assaults. But if it wasn't a cover-up, it was extreme negligence based on the people and the victims who were coming forward and accusing these players. Baylor did not take them seriously. Baylor did not do anything to listen to them, to move on against any of these football players or even any investigations into them. And as in the Sam Ukuwachu case, the soccer player that he allegedly, I guess I can't say allegedly, he got convicted, that he assaulted, she went to the administration and was like, hey man, he's in some of my classes and that makes me super uncomfortable and I freak out every time I see him. Can you transfer him to another class? And the administration was basically like, nope, deal with it. So she transferred schools, and Ukuwachu has a Baylor degree. So all of you Baylor grads, I hope that makes you feel very, very, very proud of your school. I remember watching Baylor play last year in the 2015 season, and watching them win all those games, especially near the beginning of the year, and just being like, how is this allowed to happen? I mean, how can they do this, and how can everyone cheer for them knowing that there's rampant abuse going on that campus and a lot of the people that are involved as the aggressors are on the football team? Listen, I know that players are going to make stupid decisions, all right? We're talking about 18 to 22-year-old men. They're not the smartest group of people in the world to put together. They're going to college. I mean, they're going to drink. They're going to probably do some drugs, hopefully lighthearted if they do any at all. They're going to meet all kinds of new people. They're going to, in a lot of cases, battle with their own fame. You know, they came from a high school of, maybe 600 people where they've always known them. Now they're putting in this university with 30,000 people and everyone knows them. And people want to buy them drinks and be their friend. And girls want to talk to them. And it's an entire new environment for a lot of these people. And that's a weird transition when you go from yeah, everybody knows me, but it's fine, to everybody knows me and all they want to do is know me because they want to be a part of my future now. That's weird, and it's going to make a lot of these kids, and they are still kids, and I'm a little bit of a jerk being 26 and calling a 22-year-old a kid, but for the most part, these are younger, 18, 19, they're kids. And they are dealing with all of this at the exact same time. They're going to make stupid decisions. It's going to happen. But here's the difference between those cases and this Baylor case. See, if a player gets, say, a DUI, right? They were out at a club one night or they were at a frat party and they decide to drive home after drinking too much and the cops bust them because they're weaving in and out of traffic. Yes, a coach can educate on that. A coach can talk to them about the people you hang out with and making good decisions. But honestly, you can't really blame the coach for that incident at that time. Unfortunately, there's like 85 people on the roster, if not more. Coaches can't be expected to babysit all of them all the time. They're going to be adults. They're going to have to be on their own. And events like a DUI, or if they get caught with a little bit of marijuana, or if they say they fall into the wrong crowd, which again you can educate on but you can't discipline. They fall into the wrong crowd and then that crowd decides one night to rob somebody or vandalize something, and even if they don't do anything, they're just associated with that group of people. A coach honestly can't do much in those situations. I'm not saying that the kid should get off scot-free, but a lot of those cases, I'm not sure the kid should be immediately kicked off the school and have his future ruined. I think working in the system is something that is good in those situations. However, that is not what we're talking about here with Baylor. What we were talking about here at Baylor is not somebody who made some dumb decision and then the school decided to deal with it internally. This was assault. You don't accidentally rape someone. You don't accidentally assault someone. And then for the administration to purposely cover it up, purposely mislead, that is a purposeful act. That is knowing ahead of time what you were doing and doing it despite what you consider right and wrong, despite what is going on with the victims, and despite that you are a Baptist Christian university. That is throwing all of that away and going, winning matters more. In the Sam Ukuwachu case, it's even more upsetting than the rest to me because he got kicked out of Boise State for domestic violence. He got kicked out for that. Chris Peterson, then Boise's head coach, told Art Briles, hey man, don't take this guy, he's bad apples. And Art Briles was like, yep, it doesn't matter, he's a good player. So they took him. Then he denied ever having that conversation with Chris Peterson, which he totally did. So it's not only covering up after the fact, it's inviting those kind of people into the program because winning mattered more to Baylor. I know that this is just football, right? There are bigger things going on. You know, there are actual people in the Middle East that are dying, and we're talking about football. And I understand that, but I also love football as a passion. And Baylor fans, I cannot imagine what you're going through right now. Because for the last 4 years, you've been 1 or 2 wins away from getting into the playoff, from doing something that at the time no other Texas school has ever done before. And to come from where you came from the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the world in college football, and to get where you've been and then to have your coach leave and your school kind of defaced and dragged through the mud through this whole thing, that has to suck. And I cannot imagine how it feels to be a Baylor fan right now. The most interesting aspect for me in this whole thing going forward is how it could affect future university decisions on coaches and allegations of things. What I mean by that is that I feel like winning has dominated this sport for a really long time now, to the point to where athlete matters much more and makes much more of an impact on the school than the student part does. They don't really care if you're a student, right? They don't really care what your grades are as long as you meet the NCAA minimum. The schools don't really care in a lot of cases. The athlete is what they're after. The money is what they're after. Honestly, even 5 years ago, I'm not sure if this incident would have happened that Art Briles would have lost his job. I just don't think he would have. So it's interesting to me that he did. I think it's the right move. But I think it's interesting that he did because he was a cover-up of something so awful just to keep football players. But I think it is kind of indicative to the change in culture that's coming for college football. So I'm wondering if similar incidents happen in college campuses around the country now involving this, that they will take the same action and fire a coach who on the field has absolutely no reason to be fired. Now, we've already kind of seen this in some cases. I think Jim Tressel being fired from Ohio State was ridiculous because personally, I think that selling the gold pants for tattoos is perfectly fine because they're yours. You won them. But obviously the NCAA saw it differently. But I thought that Ohio State firing Jim Tressel was stupid. I thought that Arkansas firing Bobby Petrino didn't make much sense to me if it was just the motorcycle thing, if it was just an image thing. So there must have been something else behind that I either don't remember or didn't know at the time. So what I wonder is if this will be a watershed moment for college athletics as far as changing the tide of things to come, or if we'll just look back and be like, wow, we can't believe Baylor did that. They fired Art Briles? That's crazy. He went on to win a national championship at blank. Who knows? But in either case, one of Baylor's mottos appears to be the standard. It's about time they started taking that seriously. So what do you guys think about this very swift and largely unexpected firing? Is it justified, or can you only hold coaches accountable for what happens on the field? Now, I put this video together pretty quickly, so I'm leaving out a lot of background stuff, a lot of the big picture stuff as far as what Art Briles actually meant to Baylor, how far Baylor has come from to where they are now, and how big of a move this really, really is. So I'm going to put links down in the descriptions of some of the sources that I use for some of the facts, but also just to help color the actual story a little bit more for you. Baylor fans, tell me how you feel right now. I mean, what is going through your mind? And for everybody else, what are some other probations that you either agreed with or didn't agree with, or some firings that you thought were very controversial in the past? Make sure to let me know down in the comment section. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Every single one of those helps. And make sure to hit that red subscribe button for more college football content like this coming forward. Thank you guys so much for watching. You did not have to, and I understand that, so thank you again. And as always, until next time. Hey y'all, Dustin here, and Art Briles, what just happened? Yesterday, Baylor fired its very much acclaimed head coach Art Briles just 2 years after it signed him to a 10-year contract. I wrote down some stats. This is what Art Briles did at Baylor. 2 Big 12 titles, 3 bowl games, a top 10 finish. Last year they went 10-3, including have been convicted on their charges and have been sentenced to jail. There's been plenty of evidence to suggest that a massive, literally citywide cover-up was going on to help protect them from ever being punished and from the information ever leaking out to the press from anyone outside of their little football bubble to ever understand what was going on. Was going all in to protect these players from any kind of punishment that may happen. In case you're unaware of what exactly happened, there's at least 4 Baylor players who have been accused of sexually assaulting literally over a dozen women between them. None of the cases were at the same time. They were all individual. It's not like they were some kind of planned group activity. But at least 2 of them running all over number 10 North Carolina in the Russell Athletic Bowl, plus they had a Heisman Trophy winner. There was all kinds of firsts under Art Briles. He allowed them to get a brand new stadium. I remember they beat Oklahoma at home for the first time. They beat Texas for the first time in a long time. They won a bowl game for the very first time in like 25 years. They were ranked for the first time in like 27 years. He did an incredible, incredible job building up Baylor. So why did they let him go? It only doesn't make sense if you only focus on the field. If you look off the field, it makes perfect sense. The Baylor coaching staff, the Baylor University administration, even the Waco Police Department